Hi, hello and welcome back. This is Ali Nassim, CEO of eFlux, and I have Mike Wittgenstein, CEO of Story Miners with me, as before. In the first hangout, we discussed how customer experience is critical for adding value to your customers as well as to your bottom line. And as promised, today we're going to discuss the technology part of that experience. We're basically going to talk about customer experience architecture and how it's critical to integrate your on-prem ERP, CRMs to all the different digital channels and to customer touchpoints across different devices. So welcome to the show, Mike, and great to have you back.
Great to be with you again, Ali. Thank you.
Okay, so please go ahead and tell us a bit about how business architecture and technology architecture can play the role together.
For sure. Well, we're talking about technology today, so let's go ahead and say the truth. Technology is not the problem. Technologists are engineers, and engineers make the world go round. They know exactly how to get the outcomes that you're looking for done. It's always a pleasure to work with them. Sometimes a few challenges, but usually the technology will do what you ask it to. The challenge in working with customer experience, in my opinion, is that there's not often enough clarity around what we want the customer experience to be, both for the customers and for the employees. The other challenge is that often businesses lack their own business design, a strategy for the business that goes beyond a prioritized set of to-dos to offer up a framework and infrastructure and some principles by which the work of the organization gets done. Today, Ali, I think we'll have a lot of fun as we explore how technology design, business design, and customer experience design all work well together and help each other out. Whichever discipline you're in, you probably think that you are the center of the universe and that you are the bridge and the catalyst for the other two. Go ahead and think that. Let everybody think that, because it's actually true, and it takes all three of these groups working together to affect a really amazing customer experience, one that delivers value for customers, easy to notice, and it always gets shared. Back to you.
Absolutely, and I love that phrase where you said everybody likes to think that they are the bridge, because we need more bridges than we need silos, right? So I think that's a great way to put that. And the way I try to conceive this is through some sort of an architecture which uses a common terminology between a business architecture and a solution or technical architecture. And the way to go about it is, instead of just coming up with your business architecture and high-level strategies and high-level processes that need to be then mapped by the technical architecture, why not just go together, as you very rightly said, that have those three different functions work together on a common architecture, which is a customer experience architecture. Because if you are to select one common language, as we were talking the last time we talked, why not be it the customer language? And if you want the voice of customer to permeate throughout your enterprise, you've got to build an architecture which can sniff and monitor and listen to those voices that are coming directly from the customer. So I really like to think about it as a high-level building blocks, where some of those components within them could be technology, wherever that is required. Some of those components could purely be humans. They need to provide a great service and be show a lot of empathy towards the customers. Then there could be a lot of things which have to do with pure operations, right? So for me, a customer experience architecture is a blueprint which tries to find the gaps that are there in the current process with which you interact with the customer, and try to orchestrate a process that can connect those dots and build those bridges between your technology components, your human servicing components, as well as your operational strategies. So
perfect.
That's what I like to think about it.
I think when we talk about the three different kinds of people, the three disciplines, and of course the three languages, these are the three things we really need to think about. In the technology side, you deal in stacks, like we talked about in our first hangout, and you've got process, gaps and opportunities. On the business side, I think we're dealing with capabilities. The capability to me is the people, the process, the tools, and the business rules that let some action happen as a result of a request from a customer. And on the customer experience side, one of the most popular tools that we use is a journey map. And whatever map comes into your mind is probably pretty close to what it looks like for a customer journey map, but it just shows where's the customer, and as they go through the business throughout all the different channels, what are they doing, who are they interacting with, how do they feel? So if you take technology, capabilities, and these maps of customers, our job today in the next 10 minutes is to kind of show how all three of those things can fit together to create an amazing experience for customers, one that employees will support and one that's very profitable for the business to deliver. So let's dig into some of the tech stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely, and thanks a lot for making that great point, whereby you need to map everything together on one single diagram to keep everybody focused on the customer at the end of the day. So my take on that would be, as we promised that we're going to take a bit of a deeper dive into the technology aspect, but before we do that, let's also talk about what are the gaps that are existing today. Where is the ball being dropped when it comes to the customer experience? And by following that path and that customer journey, we'll find those opportunities which technology can kind of augment the experience with. So one thing that I recall from our first call, where you said there is no perfect customer, right? And when you say there is no perfect customer, there cannot be one journey map that you can give to all the customers to follow, right? So the technology aspect, if you try to, because in a conventional world 5 years back, the idea was that business is going to come up with a set of specifications. The marketing is going to come up with their campaign specifications, and technology is going to implement that, right? And because they, in their minds, have nailed down the segments and the target markets, and they can anticipate what their customer is going to do, and they can implement the technology to support that. But if you look at it today, since there is no perfect customer, there are going to be a lot of different journeys that are going to happen and drop off at so many different points. And the context in which the customer is coming in all of those journeys is going to be hugely different, one from the other. Now the question comes when a technical architect is trying to define an architecture to be able to map those customer journeys into real experiences and real interactions, be it the user interfaces or be it the actual back-end integration of different services to be able to come up with the right information at the right time in front of the customer. All those different things need to keep in consideration this very fact that there is no perfect customer and there's no perfect journey map. So your architecture got to be absolutely agile. It's got to be absolutely flexible in order to make sure that it doesn't really depend on one singular path when it comes to the implementation of technology. Now that can be very daunting if you just think about it, right? So how on earth can an architect think of all those, infinite number of different journey paths that the customer can take and come up with a solution? Now the key point here is that you've got to be very agile and very smart in finding out what are the ones that are going to cover the 80% of the cases and concentrate on them as opposed to concentrating on every one of them, and then build upon it. So you've got to be very iterative, and that's where an architecture which has a buy-in from marketing and from business as well as from technology is going to be that game changer when it comes to the implementation of technology with regards to that. For example, you could come up with a proof of concept real quick, deploy it at certain stores, look at the feedback, do a bit of A/B testing, and you have to have a strong feedback loop going into your architecture. And the architecture, instead of making it right the first time, you've got to make it work and improve as you go along. There's a great article we were discussing the other day, and I would like you to shed a bit of light on that with regards to the customer experience building blocks in terms of technology. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. Before we get into that, you made me think of something else, Ali, when you talked about what I would call an adaptive enterprise and how your technology needs to be always learning. If you think about it, when we're working in an omni-channel world where the customer's in control of the device, the location, the app, or the software that they're using, it's really hard to figure out all those different processes. A different way to look at things that doesn't involve process so much is to get your business to focus a lot more on the idea of sensing where customers are, tying their known profiles or their anonymous profiles as quickly as you can to the history of interactions they've had with your business, so that you can then pick them up the most efficient way possible. A lot of people forget that sensing, deepening profiles, and bringing up that information, or what I call a pickup, has to be done, and it's not something that is a process in and of itself. It's just a new kind of capability that's necessary. There's that word from business architecture again, so that we can get better and better at reducing the friction in the customer journey. Does that make sense?
It does. It absolutely does. And I would even take it further to the fact that when you talk about capability, there are three types of capabilities here. One, to be able to conceive that sort of scenario that is, that's already there in terms of the strategy of it. So strategy being one capability, operations being the other, where the human training and all that other aspects also come into play, and technology is the third pillar. So when you talk about capability, being able to orchestrate a customer experience roadmap or a process which takes into account all these three different capabilities, and how you're going to increase them over time in a super iterative fashion is going to be, I guess, the key aspect of how some of the companies are going to thrive, and some of the companies are going to really strive into this future.
Yeah, and the companies that thrive, in my opinion and from my experience, are the ones that take each new building opportunity of technology or each new rev of the customer experience, and they pile on new learnings for themselves. So each time they do a project, they decide not only what are they going to achieve, but they also decide on purpose, what are they going to learn next? So when that part of the project is finished, they're smarter, they have an eye forward, they're paying ever better attention to their customers, to their internal constituents, and to how well the whole system is working.
Absolutely. And while we are discussing it more on a conceptual level, for some of my engineering friends, let me try to break it just a little bit in terms of the technical speak. What we essentially are talking about there are a lot of moving parts, as we have been emphasizing over and over again. However, for that not to become a chaos or a spaghetti code or a total mess, there got to be one centralized enterprise architecture or enterprise service bus, as we talk in engineering terms, which got to bring some sanity out of all those moving parts. So there can be endless number of moving parts going around. There got to be a central brain or an enterprise service bus, or as you call it, a SOA-based architecture, a service-oriented architecture that got to be there in the middle, where it provides all the base framework and the pillars on which all your agility can happen, where you can have all the different, the voice of customer coming back, and the process, the campaign changing in the real time for each customer depending on their context, super personalized and all that. However, the underlying framework got to be rock solid in order to have all those movements happening on top of it. So when you talk about the enterprise service bus or so a middleware architecture, that is where most of your intelligence need to reside when you are designing that customer experience architecture. And it got to be owned, because conventionally it was owned by IT alone. We were talking, the Oracles and IBMs and SAPs of the world would be going to the CIOs, trying to sell SOA as that paradigm shift. The problem was, it wasn't owned by the business. It wasn't owned by marketing. Marketing didn't know what SOA means. And essentially, this has been a rebirth of SOA in a big way, because now it's being owned by the whole enterprise the way it was supposed to be, at the outset. And the one thing that has made that happen is the customer. The empowered customer is making sure that you got to get your act together, and you got to talk together. The CIOs and CMOs got to be sitting on the same table, discussing the same strategy and same architecture, which has never happened before. And these are interesting times for companies like us, and the partnership between StoryMiner and eFlux is exactly to be able to bridge that gap between those CMOs and CIOs who conventionally have not been able to work on similar on a single project together. We'll be those bridges to make sure that each party understands the other's language and can come up with that sort of architecture.
Yeah, I think you've said that absolutely brilliantly. Also, I found that as the years go by, I tend to appreciate good design more. And good design, which is a problem-solving tool, not making pretty pictures, means that everybody gets more of what they want. And going into a problem with an abundance attitude means that you can optimize your processes, you can delight your customers, you can take friction or slowness out of the system, and you can make more money all at the same time. And I'm so excited about working with you because we've already proven to ourselves and to some others that we have the ability to speak these different languages of technology, of business, of customer experience, get everyone on the same page. Not every single person is always going to get everything that they want, but by working together, we can get everybody, especially the customer, to get more of what they want and to deliver it in a way that people will notice, remember, and share. And I think that's the secret sauce, if you will, to doing all this work, is to deliver a great customer experience that people will share with their friends.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Mike. It's been a great session today, and we're looking forward to doing similar sessions in the future. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Take good care and have a great day.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.